But the problem with perfection is that it doesn't exist. It's a view created by a standard or an ideal, culturally or through comparison, that's been created. And comparison can easily come in and erode the passion, the joy of what you're actually creating. It is the thing that will totally suppress joy and moving forward is the moment that comparison comes in. And comparison based around what success looks like. Which is someone else's success rather than your own.
So welcome to part 2 of our Reinvent Your Business podcast with Saj Shah. What we would recommend is that you go and watch part 1 if you haven't done so already. So we're going to get straight into it. Enjoy. But we spoke about briefly that you did a very successful TED Talk.
Yes.
I think it was called the Dash of Joy.
It was the 3 keys to unlock a dash of joy.
Oh, right. Okay, brilliant. Tell us about it.
Well, it was a short story of like being in the sort of darkness around these different masks and wearing these masks and having this moment where I awoke. And I awoke in the dash of joy. And what I talk about the dash of joy is what I shared earlier, which was this, when my father passed away, my realization of what, that dash in between your birth date and your death date. What is that all about?
Got it.
And that's the dash. And for my father, it was all about joy and inspiring joy, which is what I hadn't made my dash up until that point in my corporate life. So it was really a talk about what were some of the 3 keys, and they're really, really simple 3 keys that I'd learnt and delivered a TED Talk, which is 11 minutes long, to say, well, the 3 keys are listen, laugh, and love. And what do I mean by listen, laugh, and love? Is, well, are we actually really listening to each other? Are we? Do we? It's great right now. You've got a whole bunch of listeners who are actively sitting and listening to this podcast episode, and they're actively listening. They're listening for nuggets. They're listening for what they could understand and learn. There'll also be something going on at the same time of saying, but I know this. I don't know. Do I really connect with Saj? Do I connect? There'll be this sort of internal dialogue that will be going on that will start labeling things that you listen to. And the idea is, if you take labels away or prejudgments away, what's the gold that you can actually find in listening to people? That was the key to that piece around listening. And I used my mum as a prime example because growing up, my dad was like Superman to me. But the stories I created about my mum was that, she's the one who's going to take the joy away, make me work hard, and is like kryptonite, takes the energy of what I want to do. And what I realized was I'd created those labels. And those labels became the way I would listen to her every time she said something to me. And it became the lenses or the hearing aids that I listened to my mum from. And the idea is, if you're aware that you have a specific label for a loved one or a colleague, what would you be listening to if you just noticed the label and you set it aside? What could you discover newly about a colleague, team member, a partner, or someone you're negotiating with if you actually truly listened? Now, there's loads of courses around active listening and development of your listening habits. The challenge is that it's our brain patterns. Our brains are working so much faster than the words that come out of our mind. So when someone's talking, your brain is thinking X number of words faster than what you're actually about to say. With that gap, what happens is you start judging what you're hearing. There's a little bit of freedom that the mind has now. It's already thought about something. And it's already created its outlook. But now it's using that listening gap to judge, to compare, to create an argument, to respond. And you're not actually listening.
That's very good,
So the idea is, how do you know what all of your listening blockers are?
Yeah.
And you step out of that, and you actually
and
get.
Then you really listen.
Then you
to
listen.
that
Yeah. Now, of course, I didn't deal with that in an 11-minute talk. The details around that, but it's really to plant the seed of looking at these three lenses.
Yeah.
And see where when you're stuck and there is no joy in something or a relationship or a conversation, maybe just look at how you're listening.
Yeah.
Maybe just see how serious you've become in the conversation and bring some laughter or play into it.
Yeah.
And then the love. Now, the love applies not only just bringing compassion to whoever you're speaking to, whether it's a team member, or even when there's a challenge that you're all dealing with in a team, is actually bringing compassion and love to each person's own viewpoint.
Yeah.
And trying to get into somebody else's viewpoint.
Yeah.
But my specific talk was around the fundamental thing of bringing loving kindness to yourself.
Great.
Because my inner critic, I'll tell you, that's not my best friend.
Well, I think that's true again of most people, even just inside of the our market of people running their own business, and that internal dialogue with themselves, and that whole conversation of like, oh, I'm not good enough, it will never work for me. Oh, I'm going to get this wrong all the time. And what you say about the listening there is great as well, because it applies to yourself.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I have a listening for myself.
Yeah.
And that's been built up over, well, with me now 58 years. And it's like, and when, like you say, you can just take those tags and put them aside, actually that does allow the space for something else to open up.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously that's sort of where, transformation's always a big word, but it's like, but that is where a transformation occurs, and it can occur with how you view yourself, as much as how actually you relate and listen to others. And it is an amazing experience, isn't it? When you do put those tags aside,
so experience,
and you suddenly listen to somebody, and you're like, wow. I've known, like my mother, I've known her all my life. I've just suddenly had a completely different experience of who she is for me. As opposed to who I've thought she's been for the last 40 years. Or whatever.
And look, my mum's still alive and healthy. And when my dad passed away, this sort of dropping of the lens that I listened to my mum from has created a completely different relationship with my mum. We've recently just bought a place in Marbella. Okay. And a holiday home, creating the next 50 years of our married life without kids, right?
Yeah.
And I took my mum there, just me and my mum.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, I saw a playful, joyful mum that I haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
And it was the first holiday that I'd actually had just me and my mum.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be like with family or my dad and my brother and bigger family. And I discovered things about her and her jokey side that I'd never even experienced, because I was looking at her and seeing her and through this filter of like, why is she disappointed in everything I do? And yet the disappointment was myself, because I'd created that. And it's Brilliant. It's a beautiful discovery. Yeah. And that's just with my mum. Imagine with your business partner. Imagine with your colleagues, the team. In discovering something completely new, not coming from what you think they are or what you've painted a picture of. There's a whole adventure of being in awe of this other person.
It's great, and I think the other thing it does for like business owners, because I say it's like, what do I want to help you with? What do I want to make an impact with you? And it's about, it is about building a successful business. As I say all the time, I love the mechanics of how you build a business and everything that goes into it. Don't know why, I just do. But the other thing I love is people discovering something about themselves in doing that. Yeah. So it's not just about a business, which at the end of the day is just a unemotional entity. Yes. It's the joy of discovery for the person doing that. And that's all part of it. It's like when you look into how you can transform and develop yourself. Those sort of things, like discovering your mum again after all the years and going on holiday. Because you're right, I mean, my mum passed away a long time ago, but at sort of probably 18 at the latest, you start not going on holiday with your parents. You just don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And to discover that again. And then that in itself brings what we were talking about earlier, about that playfulness and joy back up again from there. Yeah. Then when you find yourself, oh, do you know what? I call it Heartset. Everybody talks about mindset. I'm like, yeah, mindset's great. Everybody talks about it. It's a brain. It's a computer. It works a certain way. Who you really are is in the heart. Yeah. That's Heartset. Yeah. And it's bringing what's in there out here. Yeah. That's what has it transformed.
Brilliant. You just said it. And Heartset, that's amazing, because I do talk about the three brains that we have. You know, you've got your head brain.
Yes.
It's got lots of neurons. Yeah. And you've got a heart brain. And then you've got a gut brain.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, most of the fulfillment comes from the heart brain combined with the courage from the gut brain. Yeah. And then it sends the message to the head brain.
Yeah.
If you change the algorithm of where the thinking is first coming from, and then tapping into the best of the others, it's a really powerful way. But we're so used to knowledge as the key to get ahead, but knowledge is coming from being a know-it-all and getting to know, which basically means you discover nothing more. You discover nothing new, and it hits a glass ceiling.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was going to go to, is like when it's just about there and gaining knowledge and that's where people's fears and anxieties and stresses can come from. Yes. Because they think, oh, I've got to learn this, I've got to know this, I've got to be this way about it. When you can show them actually, and I love what you said about the gut as well, because we do talk about, you know, people having gut feelings about stuff, but when it becomes from the heart and the gut, actually, it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's
because that road of discovery is there. Yeah. And then when our the people running businesses, when they discover that, all of a sudden, running their business becomes exciting again. Yeah. They go back to that passion that they had when they had that first thought of like, oh, I'd like to do this business and sell this product or service. Yeah. It can take you right back to that point. And then you suddenly see your business scale, because all of a sudden that excitement is there, and passion is there, and the fear and anxiety has got reduced. Yeah, you know, I always say to people, it's like, look, as a business owner, really your job is with this unemotional entity over here, is reduce risk, reduce stress, reduce anxiety, have it run, you know, as you say it's going to run, and then it will run smoothly. Yes. And when you can get to that stage, wow. Yeah. You know, and I love that, you know, it's all part of, you know, what makes you up and what you're doing as well.
No, brilliant.
We touched on it earlier. If you're running your own business and you have got, well, you'll always have, you might not have direct staff, but you always have some indirect staff, and you'll be outsourcing stuff. And then you've got your suppliers and customers and that. And we talked about having these masks that you put up and everything that goes with it. Just say, if you can, just say a little bit more about what you can do as an individual to help strip away some of that, or some of the masks, if you like, that you're putting on or they're putting on. How can you really build teamwork and companionship and all of that stuff?
I think it's actually a lot about getting to know yourself.
Yes.
And, you know, we talk about the TED Talk around listen, laugh and love. Yes. A lot of those principles actually apply when you're interacting with stakeholders within your business. Yes. And it is about knowing where your mask is actually in the way.
Right, yes.
Of going forward with something. And when I talk about wearing masks, like I had masks of impressing people, or, you know, that was my way of hiding what was going on really.
Yes.
Hiding behind this sort of mask of what do my rich family and successful family in Kenya think about me? Well, I have to give an impression that I've got this all worked out.
Yeah. Yes.
Mask.
Yeah.
What do I say in the corporate environment? Oh, I'm a new lawyer.
Yeah.
Starting out. I didn't come the traditional route of having a law degree. I came from pharmacy. Had my own business. What's the mask? Which is show a different. I'm just as good, if not better, mask.
Yes.
And so there's all these masks, and it's the realization of who's running the show.
Yeah.
And getting connected to who you truly are. Because when you've been running different masks, sometimes it becomes a little bit like the Truman Show of like, hold on, which mask should I have on right now?
Yeah.
And it becomes confusing, and you kind of collapse a whole load of different masks, but really you're not dealing with your true authentic self and actually allowing that to shine through and make mistakes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to suppliers, when it comes to negotiations, the critical thing that I've actually found is start with authenticity.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a pitch, it's starting with the why and my own personal journey, but not as a sob story or as a victim.
Yeah.
But it's actually getting people to see the human being behind the mask, really, and not the mask.
Yeah.
And that's critical, but that requires a little bit of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I we talk about noticing. It is about noticing where you get stopped in conversations, where you get stopped in negotiations, where something is not going your way, what's actually happening. And what could be happening is that there's a perfection streak, like an ideal. Yeah. It has to be like this.
Yes.
It has to be perfect. I was there, self-confessed perfectionist. But the problem with perfection is that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It's a view created by a standard or an ideal, culturally or through comparison, that's been created. And the critical piece to understand is when in dealing and how we are in the startup world and technology, is we're dealing with a lot of successful investors, technology companies, partners. And comparison can easily come in and erode the passion, the joy of what you're actually creating.
Yeah.
It is the thing that will totally suppress joy and moving forward is the moment that comparison comes in. And comparison based around what success looks like, which is someone else's success rather than your own. And it's constantly keeping a check on whenever there's this sort of need to impress, is what's the comparison that's now coming in?
Yeah.
What's the thing that's actually driving the comparison? I suppose
and
setting that aside.
Don't do that work or don't look at that gives them many points where they'll probably give up somewhere along the way.
Correct. Yeah, it's too difficult.
Exactly that,
It's when I went into it, I was really passionate, but now I'm at the, there's too many headwinds. Yeah. Can't deal with the headwinds.
Yeah.
And that analogy around the headwinds is, I keep using this as the idea is, that you're on a ship or a sailboat crossing the Atlantic, and you want to get to New York. Yeah. Now the end destination. Yeah. But the journey is going to take you one way, and then you're going to pivot and steer back, and it's going to, hit you. A wave's going to hit you, take you this way. Yeah. It's having the resilience to deal with all of those as powerfully as possible that could take you off course, but always knowing the destination that you're actually going to. And the destination is driven by not a goal around the content of your business, i.e. I want to make blah, blah, blah money, or I want, X number of followers. Yeah. Of course, that's going to come. Yeah. But it's the context and the bigger purpose and the vision that's actually the destination you're going to, and then enjoying the journey.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Enjoying the journey.
Yeah. We come across a lot of that with businesses where the business owners are just like, there's no joy in you right now. It's like the blood's being sucked from you. And they feel like that genuinely. I thought running a business was going to be great and all of this. And actually, it sucked the life out of me for 2 or 3 years. And that's at a point where they're like, I think I'm going to give up. And what we're about is like, no, just look at reinventing yourself. Reinvent your business. Get that passion and purpose back.
And it's great that you say about the reinvention, because if you look at the flame principles, and if you were looking at marketing and you're looking at leadership, even when we started our technology company, there were things that we were really passionate and strong in. And the risk there is that you'll just focus on that and drop the ball on finance and the other areas that you've got. And that's what's really key is really understand even what is the vision around each of those principles that you've got for your business, and then work out an enjoyable journey to get there. And it might not like I'm impatient, like I want things, but it's actually sometimes the seeds are planted and they sprout here at a different rate to sprouting here. It's how many seeds are you planting, or are you hedging all your bets on one thing and then creating a massive expectation that's going to be unfulfilled, and then there's an upset around that.
I think the biggest example of that, it comes into it when people go, I've started a business, I've spent thousands in creating an amazing website. And I launch tomorrow, the first of the month. And obviously on the first of the month, nothing happens because nobody's found your website because you've ignored a shed load of other things that you need to be doing.
It's great that you brought that up. I'm going to give you two examples. One with our technology company. So we've invented a device, which is backed up by science, but it's come out of my own brain. Now, as great as I think it is, how do I know? I've tested it with friends and family. That's not good enough. And so actually testing out your ideas, testing out your inventions, your innovations, your proposals with as many people, and effectively doing your own user testing. Now, in a technology company, it's of course user testing and user experience design is part and parcel of that. But you could use that in any business. Is test out. Because I think I have got the best thing in the world. But there are others that can actually add different ideas that can expand it to another level. Which is what, the biggest learning that I've had in running the technology business, particularly in research and development, is my idea might be good. It's not great. The greatness comes from actually testing it. Testing it, iterating, pivoting, not getting attached to it being a certain way. So where we started in our prototype a year ago is not what we're going to be launching.
It's brilliant you say that. And it's I think on our Power Hour yesterday we were talking about failure and that, and there is really no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. And you get feedback by, like you say, testing, researching and developing. I remember a few years ago when I was learning about putting online courses out there, and the guy teaching us was like, don't go away and spend 6 months writing the whole course and then launch it, because you might find out nobody wants it. And then you've wasted 6 months.
Exactly.
Write the first module, sell it or offer it and see what take-up you get and what feedback you get. And that will tell you the direction that you need to go in of like, actually, you think it's going to be a brilliant course, nobody else is. Or you thought it was going to look this way. Actually, it's going to look a different way, and you develop it as you go through and market and say.
Definitely.
One of the best bits of advice I ever had, because you talked about being a perfectionist. It's like, everything's got to be done. All the stars have got to align. It's got to look perfect. Then I'll launch it.
That's right.
Wrong strategy.
And that, if we kind of bring it into, project management strategies, pharmaceutical business is driven on creating, millions spent on research and development, from test tube all the way to final approval.
Yeah.
But it's done in that kind of waterfall methodology, which is this bit we've got to perfect before we get to the next bit.
Yeah.
In technology, you become obsolete. So that agile mindset is actually a way of living as well, having that agility to pivot as the winds sort of hit you, but you're testing certain things, you're testing some things, and then you're iterating towards your best product.
Yeah. So just looking at your own business and your own business journey of what you've been on, what would you say has been one of the most difficult aspects that you've come across in terms of creating the business, getting momentum and traction going? And then, given all we've spoken about, what have you done, or have you used your own methods, if you like, to ease that journey?
That's a great question. So both me and my business partner come from a corporate environment.
Yeah.
And in a corporate environment, a lot of the things that we're now relying on knowing in our business came from other departments.
Yeah.
So you could always talk to your lawyer, you could talk to your finance director, and they'd sort all of those things out. You then lead a specific delivery of a program, which was great. And you'd get the kudos at the end of it. In the startup world, when we started, there was a lot of that mindset of trying to figure it out, because we thought from a corporate environment, we've got all of this finance expertise.
Yeah.
We've got all of this legal expertise and developing programs. No, we've got the expertise of what we led.
Yes.
But
not
how to structure your shareholdings, how to structure your business, how to get the right startup focus, how to finance it properly, how to tap into grants and HMRC schemes of getting accredited as an CIS, EI. All of these things were completely new. And the biggest tip that I would give, don't try to do it yourself and figure it out yourself. You can read a lot of things, but you need some sort of framework, your big boulders. Okay, we need to work out our marketing strategy, our finance strategy,
very good,
our innovation, our R&D. What's our vision of the product? Is it a one-hit wonder, or do we have 9 different products in the pipeline and this is the one we're launching? What does our actual business look like? And each of those, the answer doesn't come from within. The answer comes from actually talking to people, talking to the investor community and saying, oh, we're pre-seed. Oh, that's too early for us. So finding out who's the right investor. Where do you start? Because we had the corporate mentality of like, oh yeah, we've got this amazing thing and we're going to be $1 billion unicorn.
Not.
You've got to start understanding the dynamics that actually ultimately fulfill on delivering what your vision is. Always keeping focused on the vision, but then testing not necessarily the vision, because that's where the real passion comes in, but testing the ideas behind the vision with as many people as possible within their areas of expertise, and not trying to be the expert in all of them.
Perfect. And what would your advice be, or tips, if you like, to some of our listeners who are running their own business and just getting to grips with having, staff and key people within their business, about what we spoke about right at the beginning, the stress and the anxiety levels? Because like you say, the secret is having, you want everybody to buy into what your dream is for your business and what the result is that you want for your business. And you've got to, it's a real job to work at that and not have them be stressed and anxious, because that leads to underperformance.
Absolutely.
And that has a knock-on effect in lots of different areas of the business. And that's a big question again, but out of everything we've spoken about,
and I'm going to make it more relevant to of course, there's lots of things that business owners could do in the moment and interrupt those moments of stress to actually discover something new. But I'll give you something that me and my business partner have almost created, and it's just happened naturally, is whenever we get stuck in a meeting, the ideas are not quite coming, or we've got a challenge. We've got we've got this payment happening, and we need to get this investment coming in faster, and you can get really sucked into shutting things down, and closing off, And at that point, when you notice that, is the point to go for an awe walk.
Go for
an awe walk,
right?
Which is AWE. And what I mean by that is stop. And actually go for a walk and discover, like just looking up at the sky and the vastness of the sky, or looking up at a skyscraper at the bottom, just takes you away from the stressed thought processes. And in that moment, there's a little bit of distance from that, and you start brainstorming creative ideas. So part of our meetings now is not done in a meeting room.
Right.
It's done walking. Walking out there in nature, or finding a nearby park, or engaging in those kind of activities, which allows you to be connected to a bigger thing than the stressed thinking. And that's been really, really powerful to actually interrupt those moments and then bring creativity back.
Perfect. Listen, I think we're almost at the end, and that it's been such a pleasure.
Oh, it's been amazing. Thank you for making it so easy to talk to you.
It's great. And I'm sure we're going to have you back, especially so next March, hopefully the launch will be.
Brilliant.
So interesting. It's so relevant to our audience and really just the whole world at the moment of what it's going through. Wouldn't it be great if we had some world leaders that looked at their world through a different prism?
It'd be amazing, right? And actually coming from the lens of joy rather than fixing and stress and anxiety.
Perfect. And listen, we'll put the links around the podcast and around our website for your book and your TED Talk, which was amazing. And look forward to seeing you soon.
It's been a real pleasure.
Good to see you.
Thank you.